I'm here today to talk about the urgent and crucial issue of the need for a ceasefire in Palestine, all of Palestine. I'm Palestinian, I have a family in West Bank, I have family that was killed by the IDF. I've experienced threats, mistreatment, and fear of losing my life while visiting family in Palestine. We all have someone we look up to. My role model was my 22-year-old cousin, Muhammad Shaham, who lived in Kalandia, a small town in the West Bank. He was killed on March 15, 2022 by the IDF while feeding his birds on his balcony. The IDF sniper shot one bullet straight to his head. He was innocent, with no weapons, no crime, just killed for no reason. In their eyes, it was practice. The region's increased violence has caused unimaginable suffering, deaths, and human tragedy. We the people have a right to voice our concern and a moral duty to confront the issue and push for an end of violence. Currently, the Gaza Strip holds close to 2 million people in an area of 140 square miles. That's no bigger than Washington, D.C. Almost half the population is made up entirely of children, innocent children that have not committed a crime, innocent children that have no say in the war, innocent children who have been victimized and bombarded for more than 2 months and 80 years. In the eyes of the terrorists known as the IDF, the only crime Palestinians have committed, is that they were born Palestinian. With the holiday season upon us, most kids in America today wonder about the gifts they'll receive or how to spend their time while on break from school. While children in Gaza worry about their homes falling on them, where their next meal or water will come from, if they'll live to see another day. At this point, ceasefire is not a cry for help, it's a cry for humanity. Here are a few strong arguments in favor of the necessity and urgency of a ceasefire in Gaza. Humanitarian crisis. The Gaza population is suffering from a serious lack of access to basic essentials like food, clean water, and healthcare. A ceasefire would open up an important window of opportunity for those in extreme need to receive humanitarian relief. International stability. The Gaza conflict impacts international stability and security, with far-reaching effects that extend beyond the region in order to lessen these wider effects and promote international collaboration in addressing the fundamental problems. A ceasefire is an essential first step. I question every day if my 6-year-old nephew is going to be safe going to school knowing he's Palestinian, or if my parents or my sister is going to be safe wearing a hijab in public. Last time I was here in this room, there was a woman complaining about having no heat in the school her children go to. It's crazy to think that less than 1% of the $14.3 billion that is sent to Israel to fund a genocide could be used to make America as a whole a better place in so many aspects. I'm going to close off with this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. And I quote, justice for all. Does that not include the 3 Palestinian males my age in Vermont that got shot for wearing this? Or the 6-year-old that got stabbed 26 times in Chicago for being Palestinian? Does it not include the Muslim women that wear hijab with fear every day? I'll thank you for listening when action is taken. Free Palestine, ceasefire.
The next speaker will be Ahmed. And I just want to remind you, you have to state your address and your state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Mahmoud Abbas. I'm an outreach community member of the Bridgeport Islamic Community Center in Bridgeport. Respected members of the Bridgeport City Council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address this urgent matter today. I was born in a refugee camp in South Lebanon after the Nakba, which is the catastrophe of 1948. In that year, the Zionist militia, protected by the British Army, committed genocide and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian population. My grandparents were among those displaced. Majority of those living in peaceful cities were expelled to Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan. The apartheid state of Israel continued to commit massacres over the next few decades, including Egypt in 1970. Sabra and Shatila refugee camp in Lebanon in 1982. Qana in South Lebanon in 1996, and now in Gaza. Palestinians are facing the same devastation 75 years later in front of the whole world. We are watching children, women, elderly, and civilians being slaughtered with US weapons. A staggering 19,000 innocent Palestinians have been murdered, and over 6,000 are still missing under the rubble. Over 50,000 are injured with no medication. The only cure for some is amputation. Over 1.9 million are displaced and waiting for the basic necessities of life that we all take for granted. Palestinians face all kinds of oppression on a daily basis. Every time I travel to occupy Palestine, guess what? I get detained for over 5 hours. In 2019, while I was visiting the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, an Israeli soldier pointed the gun to my back and forced me to get out of the mosque. I feared for my life that I might get shot and killed while I was walking away. The Israeli state believes that the young will forget and the old will die. They are wrong. We will never forget, even if our elderly pass on. We Palestinians exhibit remarkable resilience, loyalty, and pride, and that cannot be stripped away from us. Our stories deserve to be heard and understood through compassion and empathy. We know that Palestine will be free. We know we will return back to our home. Ceasefire now. Lift the siege of Gaza and the West Bank today and free Palestine. Bridgeport City Council, please pass the ceasefire resolution today. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Yahida Martinez. I have been a Bridgeport resident for the past 33 years. My family is from Humacao, Puerto Rico. I am a wife, a mother, a sister, an aunt, a daughter, and a teacher. But most importantly, I am a Christian. My Bible teaches me that I have to be my brother's keeper. Those in Gaza and in the West Bank are my brothers and sisters. I'm trying my best to be their keeper. How can I be their keeper when my hard-earned tax dollars are going to funding weapons and ammunition to kill innocent people who are with no food, water, medicine, communication, and shelter? Children are dying, and those who are still alive have watched their parents, siblings, grandparents, and cousins die. I've seen and followed the journey of two young Palestinian heroes, Bisan and Motaz, who are disappearing right before our eyes. These Palestinian heroes are journalists, and through their eyes, the rest of the world gets to see what is really going on in Gaza. Bisan and Motaz have been reporting on the destruction of their own people and their own homeland while they are only 24 and 25 years old. My heart aches for them and their people. My heart aches with the rest of my brothers and sisters who you are hearing from today, who are asking you to take a stand and demand an end to Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people. We demand an immediate and permanent ceasefire. With a ceasefire, we will save lives. All of us here should be able to agree that saving human life is an important and urgent concern for us. I cannot begin to imagine the pain that the people of Palestine are going through. They don't know where their next meal is going to come from or whether or not they will have shelter or a warm place to stay. They do not have safety. They do not know if they will be alive even in the next second with the bombs Israel is dropping from above. It is heartbreaking to see children crying out for parents who unfortunately are not coming out of the rubble. Children are missing limbs. They are crying in pain because they are hurt. They are traumatized. They are scared and alone. Parents are crying because they have lost everything in a blink of an eye. They have lost their homes. They have lost their precious children who they loved so dearly. You don't have to be from a specific denomination, race, or culture to understand their pain. You just have to be human. As a Christian, my prayer is that God touches the hearts of those who are in charge of this genocide and moves them to immediately cease fire. But we cannot wait. We must act now and do all that we can to stop this genocide. Bridgeport City Council, as your constituent, I ask you to do the right thing and vote in favor of this ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
My name is Hanan, and I am Palestinian American. I came here today to express my deep sorrow for the Palestinian people who have lost and continue to lose their lives at this moment due to the Israeli bombing of the Gaza Strip. According to the Health Administration in Gaza, more than 20,000 people have lost their lives, including 8,000 children, and hundreds are still missing under the rubble of their houses, schools, and hospitals. What we are witnessing right now is a definition of a genocide. It is an ethnic cleansing of our people, and nobody's taking any serious action to stop it from continuing. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib said, "We are not disposable." Indeed, we are human beings who deserve to live in peace and have fundamental human rights, such as water, electricity, food, and shelter. I speak to you as a mother of 2 young Palestinian children. I have been watching a genocide through my screen for the past 72 days. We are exhausted and heartbroken at the images and videos we are witnessing of children being murdered. They are being deprived of food, water, and shelter. It is winter in Palestine, and they are sleeping on the ground in the freezing rain. We have seen children getting their limbs amputated without anesthesia, children who have to bury their own parents. Infants were left out to die in hospital beds with no mercy due to the brutal Israeli army. And let me tell you, when I look into the faces of those children, I see my children's faces. Words cannot express the amount of pain and guilt I feel, because I feel we as the United States government have failed those kids. Israel claims its violence is about trying to eliminate Hamas. But even though Hamas only has a presence in Gaza, Israel's violence has not been limited to Gaza. They have been killing and terrorizing Palestinians in the occupied West Bank as well. On October 8th, I lost my cousin who was only 16 years old. He was shot and killed for no reason. My cousin is one of the hundreds of Palestinian civilians in the occupied West Bank who have been killed or detained since October 7th. So I'm here today to ask that you support the ceasefire resolution submitted by the Council Member Martinez. I support an immediate and permanent ceasefire. I support humanitarian aid being able to pass into Gaza so we can save the rest of the civilians that have endured far more than anyone can imagine. Thank you.
Hello, City Council of Bridgeport. My name is Hamza Sial, and I'm a member of BICC. Now, I was born just 5 minutes from here at Bridgeport Hospital 21 years ago, and to this day, I'm still here as an active member of the Bridgeport Islamic Community Center. I'm also Pakistani, I'm a Muslim, and I'm a student at UConn Stanford studying political science. Over the past few weeks, I've seen some people say that it seems pointless for a city council to support a ceasefire resolution for something happening across the world. And to that, I could not disagree with more. This great city of Bridgeport has more influence than you would think. You all as well, respected members of the city council, have far more influence than you would think. 3 weeks ago in Burlington, Vermont, like it was mentioned before, 3 20-year-old Palestinian students were shot in cold blood simply for wearing Palestinian keffiyehs. Last Monday, the city council of Burlington held a vote to call for a ceasefire resolution. And while the vote tied 6-6, that vote had major influence on what politicians in the state of Vermont felt about a ceasefire. Most notably, one of the most recognizable and popular politicians in the whole country, Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, made a statement in support of a ceasefire in Palestine last Wednesday. For over 2 months, Senator Bernie's supporters were continuously asking him to support a ceasefire resolution, but he didn't comply. Even after 3 Palestinians were shot in the city he used to be mayor in, he still didn't call for a ceasefire. But 2 days after the city council of Burlington had a vote on a ceasefire resolution, that is when Bernie finally called for a ceasefire as well. Now, while Burlington is the largest city in Vermont, Bridgeport is the largest city here in Connecticut. The politicians representing Bridgeport in Congress, Senator Chris Murphy, Senator Richard Blumenthal, and Congressman Jim Himes, are the ones who can truly pressure the US government into calling for a ceasefire. I interned with Congressman Himes last year, and I know for a fact he takes note of what is going on in the cities he represents. And I know he, alongside Murphy and Blumenthal, will hear about the vote on the ceasefire resolution that will take place here in the Bridgeport City Council. One thing I always tell my family, which many of which are here today, is that local elections are so important to vote in, because the local officials that we're voting for are the ones who will actually represent us and influence those above to make the right decisions. Members of the City Council, if you pass this ceasefire resolution, I guarantee it will influence those with more power in this state and this country to potentially call for a ceasefire themselves. This incredible community behind me put you all here to represent us. We put our trust in you all, and I can only hope you do the right thing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Shaham, 703 State Street. I'm an Outreach Committee Board member. Good evening, members of the City Council and fellow citizens. I would like to thank the Bridgeport City Council for this opportunity to speak in front of you tonight. First, let's get this out of the way. I condemn all civilian deaths that occur on both sides of this conflict for many decades, or since I have lived there back in 1994. I'm over 50, born and raised in Connecticut and married for 29 years to a beautiful woman from the West Bank, whom we both still have a large family living there under occupation that are always in our prayers. We're blessed to have 4 sons who were born in Bridgeport. My 80-year-old mother was born and raised in Bridgeport. My grandmother was an RN at Carpenter Steel for 25 years in Bridgeport. My living 80-year-old father and my deceased father-in-law, which my father is here tonight, he's right there, is 80 years old and was born in Lid, Palestine, and survived the Lid death march of 1948. My father has a history in Bridgeport as well. My father worked at Bonanza. My father worked at Bridgeport High Life for many years. And then he became an engineer and devoted 20 years of his life to assembling the Abrams tank engines with the UAW. He's a very reclusive man that was never affiliated with any political group or ever taught us to hate anyone based on their race or religion, and in fact has always tried to avoid the topic for years with me, but still agreed to come tonight and supported me in my speech. I'm here tonight not only as a concerned taxpayer, but also as a father, a son, a grandson, and a husband, to urge you to support a ceasefire resolution in this ongoing war between Israel and Hamas. This war has claimed the lives of thousands of innocent people, including many children, caused many immense suffering and devastation for both sides. A ceasefire is not only a moral duty, but also a strategic necessity for the security and stability of our region and the world. A ceasefire is the only way. I say it again. A ceasefire is the only way to end the cycle of violence and create conditions for lasting peace. According to UN General Assembly, a ceasefire will allow for a release of the Israeli hostages, arbitrarily detained Palestinians. I would like to call them hostages as well, over 8,000 of them. The restoration of basic services. Time is up. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yahya Arafat. I am 70 years old, and I am Palestinian. I came to United States almost 50 years ago in 1974 as a student. I studied here. I got married. I worked 16 hours a day for 22 years to raise and take care of my family here. I have grandkids now too. Sadly, the genocide and ethnic cleansing of Palestinian people started on October 7, 23, but 70 years ago. My story started in Jordan, born as a Palestinian refugee from Jerusalem. My family suffered the first Nakba in 1948, forcing them to flee to refugee camps in Jordan. My parents managed to return to Jerusalem in 1960 when I was a young child, but to a different village. 7 years later, we suffered the 1967 Nakba, another war, when Israeli forces took over the entire West Bank and Jerusalem and forced many Palestinians to leave again. The occupation army came, but my mom refused to leave. Mom, we have war. She said, we immigrated many times. We forced out many times. We're gonna stay here. We die here. It's enough. So we stay in the house. They shut our house a couple of times, but we stay in the house. Today, my sisters, brothers, they live with their families in the house my dad built in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood of Jerusalem. The Israeli government continued to try to force these families to leave the homes where they have lived for generations to build settlements for other people. The current ongoing attack on Gaza is over 10 weeks old. That means it has been over 70 days of killing civilian Palestinians, including Gaza and the occupied West Bank. The Israeli army continuously targets civilian locations, including residential buildings, churches, mosques, UN refugees, schools, and hospitals. The whole world sees that, but they're doing nothing about it. Today, Palestinians are suffering not only from continuous bombing and the use of chemical weapons, but also from cold weather, hunger, and disease, no medications. Over 1.5 million people are displaced as refugees without food or access to clean water, medical care, fuel, or other basic needs. International calls are being made to stop this crisis and prevent an already dire situation from becoming even worse. Thank you. I thank you, and God bless you.